Hey guys, introspection here. So I'm deciding to make my first video series about sports, but not just any kind of sport, a very specific sport. Okay, I'll stop now. But I'm gonna make the video series on sports, but a very specific kind of sport. It's not track or baseball or basketball or tennis or football or even American football. It's gaming. I'm making this video series not necessarily to explain rumors or myths to non-gamers that they believe about gaming, but rather things that gamers have a really hard time explaining to non-gamers. Essentially, it's going to be a series of videos to translate the gaming world into the non-gaming world. In this video specifically, I'm going to go over non-gamers as well as the different kinds of gamers. Let's begin with mobile games. Now, understand that most gamers don't have anything against mobile games. Heck, most of them probably have a large assortment of mobile games in their library. But just because you play mobile games doesn't make you a gamer. Let me explain with an analogy. Imagine that there are two kids just throwing a football back and forth, back and forth. There's nothing wrong with this. This is an excellent way to get some exercise, enjoy the day, and have some time with your friend. But you can't really call them football players just because they're throwing around the football. Now, granted, if a football player who trained, learned the regulations, the rules, and competed came and threw a football, then yeah, he'd be a football player. But just because you're throwing the football, it doesn't make you a football player. Even if you get really good at throwing the football, like doing trick shots, and of course that skill should never be looked down upon as it is a rather impressive skill. But just because you're doing that one thing involved in a sport that has so many other things, it doesn't necessarily make you a football player. And it's the same concept with mobile games. Just because you play mobile games, even to a really high degree, that doesn't make you a gamer. Now, moving on to the first commonly recognized type of gamer. The casual gamer. This is the kind that I fall under. And these are the guys who will just go and play the game for the sake of playing the game. And let me give you another analogy. Imagine that you're in PE, you decide to play basketball with your friends, and then you just go and you play basketball just to play basketball for the sake of having fun. You may want to improve your skills to a certain degree, but that doesn't mean that you're going to go hardcore, learn every regulation, and granted, if you are playing in PE, the game of basketball, that you likely do have a good grasp on the rules, regulations, and styles, but that doesn't mean you're going to go hardcore, grind, reach the very pinnacle of playing basketball, and destroy all the other basketball teams. It just means that you go and play basketball for the sake of enjoying it. It's the same concept with casual gamers. We'll play the same games that hardcore gamers do, but not with the intent of maximizing our capability in the game, just for the sake of playing it. And this is why I consider myself a good candidate to explain this to non-gamers, as I am halfway between, or rather a casual gamer is halfway between a hardcore gamer and a non-gamer. Speaking of hardcore gamers, let me explain those guys to you. They're the equivalent of the high school, college kind of players. They go, they learn the regulations, they learn the rule book, they learn the plays, they find a team, they try to dominate all the other teams, whether it's in football or basketball, and they try to reach the pinnacle of their ability simply because they really love the game, and a lot of them are likely to attempt to make a career out of it. Just like a hardcore gamer will go, they'll grind, they'll do everything they possibly can to try to maximize their ability. They'll learn all the plays, they'll learn all the maps, they'll learn the game almost down to its code, and a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are likely to attempt to make a career out of it. That's the equivalent of, like I said before, a high school or college player. Now, and finally, there are professional players. These are the equivalent of the NFL, the NBA, the UFC kind of guys. They're at the top of their sport. they have made it into the professional leagues. They're the kind of guys that hardcore players and even some casual players will go and watch compete against each other because they're that good. And a lot of hardcore players, like I said before, will strive to become these professional players. And essentially, those are the different. And granted, just like in sports, there are different degrees of how dedicated people are between the hardcore and professional, and between casual and hardcore. But explaining these three different type of gamers, I think now that you guys understand, you should be able to judge pretty well what the in-between type gamers are. Well guys, that's it for this video. If you have any ideas as to what else I should explain about the gaming world to non-gamers, make sure to leave that in the comment section down below. Or if you just want to tell me how great of a job I did, I certainly don't mind that either. Make sure to also leave that in the comment section. Otherwise, make sure to hit that subscribe button and send this video to those of us who have a difficult time understanding the gaming world. Now before I go, I wanted to tell you about something I'm doing in celebration of Black History Month. I've noticed that there's a large sum of black people who've done some rather important things, but have gone unrecognized by most of us on account of their lack of presence in the history books. Thus, I have decided that each day for Black History Month, I will be posting about an important black person who does not frequently come up in history books. If you want to be part of that, make sure to follow me on Instagram and or friend me on Facebook. Other than that, make sure to hit that bell button so you can catch my next video in the next 2 weeks. And until then, hear nothing and listen to all. Bye guys.